Hey everyone. So want to go ahead and make this video to give people a little bit of pointer on the Yelp web scraping project using a technique that was not covered in class but might be useful if you're getting to tiers 3, 4, or 5 in the homework assignment. So a big thing here is it's fairly common with web scraping is sometimes you'll run into missing values. And just using what we covered in class, sometimes it's not guaranteed that you'll be able to determine where that missing value occurred. This especially if you're in the middle of some sort of loop, and you're getting, page 8, 9, 10, or 11, from some sort of website. So here to demonstrate here what we're talking about, I'm going to go ahead and go to Yelp. All right, go to the home page. This is the same one that we used in class, so no big deal there. All right. So as an example, if you scroll down over here, you'll notice not every single restaurant has a telephone number. Okay. So Flatiron doesn't right over here, and then I think just one more. Okay, there's not. There's just one right over here, but that's good enough, right? So the idea is right, there's no telephone number right over here. And so using a lot of times if you have a missing value and you just have the the stuff that we did in class, the issue is when you're done doing your stuff, you'll have 9 values for telephone number instead of 10, and you won't necessarily know where the missing value occurred. All right, so let's just do a quick demonstration. All right, so we'll do this URL. All right. Dot text. Let's run this. All right. So REQ, right, is all this stuff. That's beautiful. Okay, great. All right, and then we'll do this scraper. All right, so now if we just kind of do what we did with the class and we want to get something like phone number, all right, we could go over here, go make this a little bit smaller. Copy this. All right, let's get the class. All right, so we have these things right over here. Okay, and so, all right, let's do this, paragraphs. All right. And let's go ahead and get the text. All right, so we have this. All right, so we have some numbers right over here, and then we have some non-numbers right over here, right? So again, just kind of doing what we did from previous class, right? We might do something like this. Graph dot strip dot is digit. All right, so we do something like this, paragraph for paragraph and paragraphs. Okay, so we do something like this. That gives us nothing. Let's try this. 1 second. All right, let me try this one more time. All right, so we have something like this right over here. So that's what we would have done previously, to have gotten the phone numbers, right? But same thing, right? If you look at this, this thing has 9 and not 10. Okay, so it's going to be problematic lots of times, as you'll sort of, you might be in some sort of loop, and then the fourth page, you might be missing an address or something like that. And so if that happens, it can be very difficult to understand where the missing value occurred. All right, so with that being said, if you're in that circumstance, all right, there are a few things you can do. If you kind of just look at these two steps that we did right over here, okay, and look at your results. Alrighty, there are some things you can do, because you might be able to look at every third item and then check to see if it's a phone number. And then if it's not a phone number, you could basically say, well, that must mean that means it's missing, things along those lines, and you can insert that with none or something like that. However, though, this can be problematic because it can be really kind of be difficult to keep track of where these missing values might be happening. So if that's the case, something else you can do here, all right, on the homework prompt, it's referred to as the outside-in approach. All right, so what this is instead of selecting a single element, like Flatiron right over here, or this entire thing, you can select a container, all right, of items like this. So if you look at this right over here, every single restaurant, all right, in addition to individual things like what holds the phone number or the title, there are also tags that are just used as larger containers that contain all these items. Okay, so for example here, all right, I select this, we can see it's div. Notice here, right, we have a class here called container. Right, there are a lot of classes assigned to this thing, but this one looks suggestive, all right? So I'm going to go ahead, copy this. Let's do this, do div. Let's get the class right over here. I feel like I didn't copy that correctly. Hold on 1 second, all right. Let me try it now. All right, so let's do this. Okay, here we go. Alrighty. Alright, so I'll do this right over here. Okay, I'll call this container. Alright, so now the idea then, if I look at this containers, something you can notice here. Okay, there's exactly 10. Okay, and of course there are 10 restaurants, right, on this page right over here. So probably what that means is we selected, right, the corresponding block that contains all the information about this particular restaurant. Okay, so now if we look at this, okay, the first item here is this fairly large block of contents. Okay, and again, this is basically all the source code that's used to store the first restaurants right on the page right over here. Okay, so this thing right over here actually contains all the information about the first restaurant. This one contains all the information about the second one, about the third, things like that. And what's unique about this is when we look at this thing right over here, this particular element, you can further scrape this. So as an example, notice here, right, I'm not saying containers find all. I'm looking at the first item inside this, and I'm calling this right over here find all. Okay, and so what this is giving me is within the very, very first restaurants, okay, find all the paragraphs that are contained within this block, all right? How this can be useful is it can make it easier to keep track of exactly where you're at in the page. And again, this tends to be especially helpful if you're dealing with missing values. So as an example here, all right, if we go ahead and then we look at the container, we can see here, all right, this one, the second one is the phone number. Okay, so just as an example, so if we did this, all right, that would return that thing right over here. We could probably do .text like this. Okay, there we go. All right, so as an example here, all right, so basically what I'm saying is for each item inside this list, which is the block of contents that contains everything about this restaurant right over here, right? The title, the reviews, the price range, all this kind of stuff, okay? We're saying go through, let me find it down here. Okay, so we're saying basically what this loop is saying right over here is go through each one of those items, get all the paragraphs, grab the text of the second one. And so if we do this, all right, and we look over here at the value of phone numbers, all right, we actually have something here that's more informative, okay, because we can see exactly over here at the fifth item, it's not a phone number. Okay, so now we could do some programmatic logic and we could do something like this. All right, so we're saying go through each one of these. And basically what we're saying is if we remove the white space right over here and then everything else is a number, then keep it. But if that returns false, then go ahead and replace this with none. All right, so if you run this line right over here, okay, this is very, very, very helpful. All right. Okay, because this way we were able to kind of locate exactly where the missing value occurred, and then we went ahead and then just inserted none like that. All right, because again, it's probably going to be true if you end up targeting columns which have missing values, you're going to have some sort of conditional logic to detect whether or not it occurred at a particular spot. All right, so again, this is in the homework prompt. This is referred to as the outside-in approach. And so the idea then is instead of sort of grabbing each unique item like this, which can lead to difficulty on understanding where something might go missing, select the outer container and then scrape that, and then it's easier to apply conditional logic to determine if something is where it ought to be. Okay, and so then you can go ahead and then fill in these none values where you don't have the right logic, and so that way you can keep track of if something's not there. Okay. So good luck on the homework, everyone. Again, I will be available on Slack if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing all of your work. Thanks.